Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. I've got another interesting video for you folks. It's just not a review of a pen, but a combination of pens. I was inking up certain pens that I thought would be daily drivers and sure bets for the office, and particularly for one of my court trials. And my two top pens that I chose were two vacuum filling pens, the Custom 823, Pilot Custom 823, and the Vincenzo 699. And as I fill these pens, it occurred to me how ingenious that vacuum filling system is, how reliable it is. I also had to clean those pens out before I inked them. Very easy to clean. And I said to myself, you know what, there's an interesting video here somewhere. So I decided to do a video on the top budget vacuum filling fountain pens that I have in my collection. And I've gathered them all, washed them all out, chosen them, kind of set some parameters for a comparison. And that's what I've got to offer for you. And at the end of this video, we'll kind of declare some winners, if you will. Okay, so without any further ado, here is Fountain Pen Therapy's top budget vacuum filling fountain pens. Okay, so we're back now. Now, what you're looking at here is, I don't know if any of you caught my recap for March the 2nd, but I had announced this upcoming video, and I had shown several pens and made the remark, here are all my vacuum fillers, and I had included in the lot all of these pens. Now, these are vacuum fillers. These are indeed the Asvine V200. We will remove them from the picture just because they've been re-nibbed. They all have flex nibs, titanium nibs, so that's not really representative of what you can get on the market. So I'm going to remove those from the comparison. These are the Pen BBS 355. Different versions of it. Again, made a mistake. It looks like a vacuum filler, but it's not a vacuum filler. It's really a syringe filler, a little bit like the Opus 88. It does have that mechanism, but you need to syringe or eyedrop the pen. It is not a vacuum mechanism, so I will remove the 355 from the picture. These are the Vincenzo 699 duplicates. Going to be removing those as well from the picture just because I've chosen one and we're going to just do one. This, of course, is the 630, I believe. Again, I was mistaken. This, in fact, is just a piston filler. It is not a vacuum filler, so I'm removing that one. And this is the Majon C5, which again may look like a vacuum filler, but it is not. It's an eyedropper. Again, it's you syringe fill you fill it with a syringe, and the mechanism serves completely different purpose. So we're going to be removing this Majon from the picture as well. So having said that, we now have a blank sheet, and we're going to start showing you which pens we will include. First of all, we will include this Narwhal Original Plus. So the Narwhal is in the picture. The next one just bear with me here. We will also include the TWSBI VAC 700R. The next one that we will include is several Asvines. This is the Asvine V200 that I've chosen to include. It's one of various versions that I have in the comparison. We will also include this Asvine V126, which of course is in the picture. We will also include this Asvine V169. Isn't it beautiful with the Asvines? You've got the V in the number, so V tells you that it's the vacuum filler. We will also include this Natami Spaceship vacuum filler. And by the way, all of these pens have been reviewed at one point or another, so you can look them up on my channel if you're interested in a more detailed review. The next pen I've placed in the comparison is this Pen BBS 456. Again, I have various versions. I chose that one. This is the funny pen that nobody likes, but that I love. This is the Majon V1, and as you can see, it's kind of got a funny looking design. We will also include, of course, the Wingsong 699. I showed you various other versions. I've included this bluish tinted version. We're going to put this on one side. I've included this Tramol vacuum fill. And now I'm hoping I didn't make any other mistake. There may be maybe one or two. No. This Tramol, I think, is a vacuum filler. Hopefully I have not, I'm not mistaken. I've also included this Pen BBS Year of the Ox, and this one I have not tested. I am not sure that it is a vacuum filler or just a an eyedropper, but we'll do the test when we try to ink these pens, because that's going to be one of the criteria that I've used to kind of determine or compare and maybe even declare winners, etc., etc. So these are the actors, folks. So stay tuned. I'm going to pull out my notes and we're going to determine the parameters that will serve as the comparison. Okay, here are the parameters that I'm using to compare, and I'm going to score each. I don't know if you can see this. This is an Excel sheet that I prepared. I've got all the pens listed here. The first criteria is going to be price, and I've given them scores. The second is material. There should be a distinction to be made between an acrylic, purely acrylic pen that may have some steel trimmings and one that is acrylic but has aluminum alloy or titanium. I think some points can be given for that. I then scored them all, having cleaned up each pen. I'm going to give them a score pretty all even here. They were all pretty easy, and I'll explain in a second. But for example, the Pen BBS here, the Ox, was a mess. I will then go through with you the build quality of each. The nib, of course, will play a major role and may serve in terms of, it's going to be a more important criterion. Therefore, we're going to give it a little more weight in the comparison. The overall writing experience, feel, comfort. How did the fill go? Does one pen fill more than another? We're going to take a look at size. It's not a determining factor, but we're going to do a size comparison as well. And then, of course, we're going to take a look at whether or not the pen posts. So, and we will give it, I just wanted to show you the sheet. Most of it is still empty. I will have done the exercise, of course, before we continue this video. But some of it will be done on, at the same time as you are hearing this video. And at the end of the day, we'll tabulate all the scores and we'll see what kind of results we shall get. So that's it, folks. So here are the pens. Now, what we can do first, I think, because we got to get these pens going, correct, is maybe take a look at some of the materials. Now, this one here, the Ear of the Ox, as you can see, it's essentially, and material, by the way, includes design as well. So, the design is a funny design. Not everybody likes this. And I think they've repeated the year, the annual pens are kind of similar with a very small cap and longer body. But essentially it's acrylic, transparent resin here. Yes, there's a little bit of a decorative feel to it. The Narwhal Original Plus is fairly simple. It's got some gold-plated trimmings, but the pen is essentially acrylic resin. The same will go with my TWSBI VAC 700R, as you can see. This is the V200, and I think we're going to have to give it some points for it having titanium trimmings, if you will. But the rest is resin or acrylic as well. The V126, same here, minor, the ordinary gold-plated or gold-colored stainless steel trimmings with essentially acrylic resin base. This V169 is a combination, if you will. You've got the stainless steel skeleton along with the acrylic, the acrylic trimmings. This is the Natami spaceship pen. I think I got to give it some points for using aluminum alloy along with that transparent resin. The Pen BBS 456 is essentially acrylic with some trimmings. Now, I will not give it any points. This is a special edition pen, but if you take the simple clear, it essentially will look a lot like the rest. This one's a little bit special because of the special trimmings, but I will not give it any points because we're going to take the base model, if you will, as the comparison. This is the V1. Again, we're talking about acrylic and even less trimming, unless you can take that knob and give it some points, but I don't think so. It's basically a barrel knob. Same thing goes for my Wing Sung. Again, we're talking acrylic with some gold-colored trimmings. And then we have my Tramol, which, again, we're talking about acrylic and some steel trimmings in the clip, etc. So there you have it. I think in this category, I've given a little more marks. So I've basically given 7 to every single pen except the Natami. I've given it an 8 just because I think aluminum is a lot sharper than just boring steel. And I've given a a 10 to the V200 as opposed to 8 because of the titanium. So there you have it. We've gone over the materials. Now let's by the way, for cleaning, while we're at it, they are all pretty easy to clean because the nib sections unscrews, and so you can get into the barrel and wash things out pretty nicely. And I've learned by washing these very recently, I've learned to see how efficient and how quick you can clean these pens with no major pain. And it's quickly becoming one of my favorite filling mechanisms. The exception is on this Pen BBS Ear of the Ox. The section doesn't remove. I had to remove actually the nib, only the nib, because the nib section is forms one part, and so the hole in here is much smaller, and the cleaning was a lot more difficult. Okay, so let's screw in back the nib and the I mean, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Some people would say that it's nice and elaborate, and I don't like this particular design, but you've got to appreciate the originality. It's got a nice finial there, a little button. This is, you know, on the clip. It's meant to decorate more than anything else. The pen is a nice size. I must admit that when you write with it, it's long but very balanced. So you know, at the end of the day, that will play into the evaluation. I don't like how this caps and uncaps, simply because it's a little finicky, and I don't believe that you're going to put the cap on top here. It is really no point. So that's the Ear of the Ox. This is my narwhal. Nothing very efficient. I like the size of this pen. I didn't have it, and I purchased it recently. As you know, if you saw my last week's review, and you know, the reason for purchasing it was to get this review done. But when I got it, I was pleasantly surprised with the actual size of this pen. I like it. It's got some girth, and I was pleasantly surprised. This, of course, is the TWSBI VAC. Nothing, you know, it's a TWSBI, and I'm just, because I might be getting some water. I just noticed I sprayed all my tray here. But I like the shape of this pen. It does have a kind of a different, it's not straight up, it kind of winds down a little bit. I like the weight, the girth, very nice. So we'll see how the rest develops. This is my Asvine V200. I've got, you know, I've learned to really like this pen, but, you know, we originally I said I think I'm going to be biased, but no, because the others I've learned have all of their qualities. So this is the V126, a little lighter, a little thinner, you know, and you've got different color resins. There we go. Because we will do that comparison once we've kind of put them all. This is the V169. You know, the Asvines are excellent quality, but I must admit the others are no slouches either. Like this Natami, it's kind of a sleeper, you know what I mean? And you got to take a good look at it because it is, at the end of the day, it's got its attractions. Now, some of these pens I noticed have a little bit of water still in the barrels, but that's not the end of the world. This is the 456. This, I think, in all honesty, when I look at this collection, is probably the first vacuum filler that I purchased. There you have it. Now, this is the test tube pen, as I like to call it, that many people hate, but that I find interesting. Find it interesting just because it does have a very original, albeit some people hate that design, but it is nonetheless original. Apologize, you could still see some water in there, but it's not the end of the world. This is my Wingsung 169. That, of course, is the duplicate, not the duplicate, but an imitation of the 823, and we shall see if it holds up to that comparison. This is the Tramol. It kind of looks like the Opus 88, but the Opus, of course, is just it's not a vacuum filler. It's a eyedropper. So there you have the pens. In terms of comparisons, yes, this Year of the Ox kind of takes the length anyway. But got to tell you, the sizes are all very nice, and you'll see shortly that they all have their own very comfortable features. These two have really surprised me, and the Asvines are excellent quality. They're all pretty good, I got to tell you. Even this Tramol has managed to surprise. So there you have it. Those are the pens in terms of size comparison. And we're going to give them some scores, and then we will come back with the next criteria. Okay, in terms of size, I would say to you that I have just given, but this is subjective, okay, because not everybody likes bigger pens. Because I enjoy bigger pens, I've given a little more, I've given everybody basically 9, except for these three. I've given them 10, just because I find that they're a little bigger, a little more comfortable than the rest. Let's take a look at posting. The Narwhal barely posts at the tip. So does this Twisby. I'm a little bit concerned that this will turn the knob. But, unlike a piston, turning the knob doesn't necessarily mean spillage. In fact, you kind of have to turn that knob in order to get ink down into the section in any event. So I don't think that that's a major. The Year of the Ox does post. So if you want to get rid of that cap, it does post. Actually, you can screw it in, to my great surprise. The Asvine, people have complained about it not posting properly. And also, if you post and unpost, those rings can start to get used up, or even you can remove them accidentally. But when you're posting, and it does affect the knob, I think the Asvine is, I'm going to show that it's not a good poster, that V200. This one here, the V126, posts very nicely, deeply and securely. This V169 has really the same issue as the as the Asvine V200. I don't think it's a great poster, so we're going to remove it. The Natami posts very nicely, deeply and securely. The 456, same here, very nice poster. This one doesn't post, so we'll just leave it alone. The Wingsung 699 posts. The Tramol is problem, doesn't post. Okay, so in terms of posting, I would say to you that this year the Ox is a very interesting poster. I don't like the way these two post. This one doesn't. This is very secure. This is very secure. This is very secure. And this is very secure. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 will get extra marks. These, along with this one will get some marks, but not that many. And the ones that don't post don't get any marks. So that's size and posting. We'll give it some scores, and we'll be right back. Now, in terms of design, I took a look at that and I gave some scores. That can be very subjective, but I think the one that, this one here, because it is a reproduction of the A23, gets the least for original design. This V126 is pretty, pretty standard stuff. There's nothing special about this cigar-shaped. Some would even argue that it resembles the Leonardo or even the A23, frankly. So maybe give them a little less marks here. There is some design here, although pretty subjective, but you've got to give it some marks for originality. Same for my Natami. I like the skeleton as well. I also like this V200. I also like the Twisby. Natami, nothing unusual. It looks like a smaller version of the Opus 88, but so, I'm not going to give it too many marks. This is original, but just because it's so unusual, I can't give it too many marks. But that generally gives you an idea on how I rated design. So we've done material, we've done cleaning, we've done quality. I think they're all pretty good quality. I haven't seen any major, quality design or quality issues in any of these pens. I did notice that, I don't know if you can see that rubber ring there appears to be somewhat compromised on this 456, but I'm not going to take off any marks just because this is the oldest pen when you compare it to the rest. The rest have been recent purchases. I've had this 456 and used it for many, many years prior to the rest. So, but all the rest are, the mechanisms are all pretty good. The pens look like they've been, properly built. So I'm going to give it pretty well. Everybody gets the same score here. Some people might argue that these rings are an issue. I don't think they are. In fact, in the other pens, I've bought rings so I can replace them with red, blue, green, give it a little more flair. I don't think that's a major issue. Not in my book, in any event. The posting will be dealt with under posting. So there you have it. That takes care of overall build quality. So we've done the posting, we've done the size comparison, we've done the design, we've taken into account the material. Prices, I've got it listed already in my spreadsheet. They are what they are. I can tell you that the cheapest, this goes for $23. The Vazvine V126 and the Vazvine 169 are next with 40. The Wing Sung and the Natami, so Wing Sung and Natami are at 42. The Pen BBS is at 60. The Vazvine V200 is at 68. These are all Canadian prices, by the way. Narwhal, it's at 75. Twisby is at 90. And I didn't manage to find this ear of the ox. I'm not even sure there are any available. But if I compare it to the other year of the rabbit and year of the tiger, we're talking about $100 plus. So I've given that $100. So that's the most expensive in terms of pricing. And we'll factor that in my overall conclusion. There we are. I think we're all set to start to take a look at the nibs. And why don't we do that? Now, the nib on this one, I mean, it's a, you know what, we won't do the writing sample right away, but I can mention that some of these nibs or some of these pens offer more choice than others. So, we got to give some marks to that. Some are limited to extra fine and fine. Some go all the way from extra fine all the way to stub. There's some value to that, I think. So we'll give some marks for that. And in terms of the actual nibs, we will take a look at the actual nibs when we do the writing sample. So, for example, just to let you know, the Majon V1 essentially comes in just extra fine and fine. The V126, the V126, the V169, and the V200 are in the Asvine nib offering, go from extra fine to medium. The Natami I can only find in the fine. The Pen BBS comes extra fine to medium. The Tramol, let me just see here. The Tramol, I think only comes in fine, extra fine and fine. What have I missed? These are the best because they go from extra fine to 1.1 stub. And this one here, I'm not even sure there was anything else other than this nib, which is the fine nib. So there you have the choice. We'll be right back. We will ink these pens and do some writing samples. Okay, I've put my camera just to see the level of power fill. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but this Natami, the line is about there. In the 169, it's about there, just a little more. The 126 is even lower, it's here. The 200 is up here, so far 200 is the best. The Narwhal is equal to the 200. The Twisby just a little less. Pen BS, let me just see. Yeah, equal to the Narwhal, but less than the 200. The Majon is not bad, but you also have to take into account the pen itself. But I would say, surprisingly, the Wingsung didn't fill up that much. It's got the cleanest and easiest mechanism, but it didn't fill. And the Tramol did a good job. I would say to you that the V200, the Twisby, the Narwhal, the 456, and the Tramol are the best fillers. Difficult to tell because, you can't really, you have to look at the barrel and not extrapolate because, some of the pens go in deeper into the cap than others. But when I look at the fills, first of all, none of them have filled right to the top, so you always have to do some power filling. I'm just a little disappointed with the one with the Wingsung, which appears to be probably the worst in the gang, along with the Natami. But there you have it. I don't know if that makes any sense. And certainly I will take a closer look at this as well, just to make sure that we're not misstating things. And if I come to a different conclusion, I will let you guys know. So there you have it. That's the fill. I did want to mention that I've got to get rid of the... I suspect that I made a mistake. This is not a vacuum filler. It's a eyedropper. You have to fill it up with a syringe. I was convinced it was a vacuum, but I did, when I started the video, I mentioned that I did have my doubts. So I apologize. It should not have been in the picture right from the very start. So we're down really to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Isn't that nice? Nice even number. We're down to 10. By the way, I took a better look at the filling, and this Tramol is really the best filler, along with this Majon V1, believe it or not. It's got a big reservoir, and it managed to fill quite a bit of it. So and my Wing Sung is the most disappointing one, unfortunately. So there you have it. We've done the fill. We've inked these pens. Now we're going to do some writing sample. And in the writing sample, we'll take a look at comfort, overall writing experience, and of course, we'll take a look at the nib. And needless to say, the nib will play a major role in my evaluation. So we will be right back. Okay, so we're back with the writing sample. By the way, the inks that I've put into these pens, other than the green inks, which are Dieman Candle, it's this one here, Candle Side or Canal Side. It's the new 160 anniversary Dieman inks. You know, Dieman ink is a very, very good ink. And the other pens are really Iroshizuku. The blue would be the Kujaku, and the black ink is the Takesumi. What is it? Takesumi or yeah, Takesumi. So it's all, you know, they all have very good inks, if you will. Okay, but I did want to use a couple of inks that matched the pens. So there you have it. Okay, so the first one is this Natami spaceship. The nib's got some branding there, but nothing spectacular. By the way, I thought this pen posted. When you do this, it does post, but then when you start playing around with your hand, you see it removes. So I've taken off marks. Essentially, it's not a postable pen. In terms of comfort, extremely comfortable, nice weight. It's got a section that's not slippery. There's no, you know, bad lining here or scratchy surface that would hinder your long writing sessions. So this is the Natami. Wow, very nice nib. Spaceship. It's got a fine nib. That is very smooth. Very wet. And really consistent. Very nice. So we'll kind of come back and give it a number in a second. This is the V169. Again, this is not a pen that can be posted just because it's ridiculous, okay? And back-weighted, given all that steel. So I wouldn't post this pen. In terms of comfort, extremely comfortable, good weight. This metal section, surprisingly enough, is not slippery at all. And the threads are very, very comfortable for long writing sessions. By the way, this is an Asvine M nib. So this is the Asvine V169. It's got a medium nib. Which is very smooth, very wet. Wow, so far so good. Let me tell you, very nice writing experience on both of those pens. Okay, this is the V126. This does post, and it posts extremely comfortable. It is a little long, but that cap is really light, so it doesn't affect the balance at all. So here we go. This is the Asvine. Wow, another nice nib. V126, medium. It's a gusher. Very smooth. Very wet. Very consistent flow. Not an issue whatsoever. Very nice. So far, 3 out of 3, boys and girls. Okay, next. Let me just think. There we go. Yeah, this is the stub, narwhal nib. Kind of a more vitalic shape to that stub than cursive, but let's take a look. So this is the, I don't know if I spelled that right, but the narwhal original plus. It's got a 1.1 stub. All these nibs are steel, by the way, needless to say, especially at that price. Very smooth. Very wet. And just lovely. That section is a little bit small for me, but you know, mileage can vary depending on your taste. The pen is very comfortable. A little bit on the short side. We can post it. It just sits on top. I think it becomes uncomfortable post-it. It just goes overboard in my view. So the posting has been rated or given a score, but overall comfort, I would say that the nib section is just a little bit too thin for my taste, especially given the girth of this pen. Overall girth is nice big pen, and then they give you a small section like that. But again, that's very personal, okay? But so I'm just going to mark here so I remember thin section. Post. I'm going to put NA just to notes that it's just not comfortable when it's posted. TWSBI, the VAC. For those of you who are really finicky, that nib doesn't appear to line up. I don't know if there's a way to get it to line up. The same thing with the narwhal. The other ones you don't really notice just because they're darker, but I'll take a look at the Natami in a second. So this is the TWSBI VAC 700R 1.1 stub. It's got a little bit of good feedback. Yeah, and it's a gusher. Very, very nice. Got to tell you, so far these pens, in terms of posting and in terms of comfort, it does post. Probably a little more comfortable than the narwhal because I think that cap is lighter for some reason. The section, the nib section is smooth. It is also very thin, but for some reason feels a lot more comfortable. Maybe because there is a bigger step down there and part of my fingers are on the thicker section. Perhaps that makes the difference, but there you have it. The TWSBI posted, if you want to write post-it, is a little more comfortable than the narwhal. But they have similar posting. And let's do this right away. This is, again, similar to the other two. This one is ridiculously long. I don't like it at all. It's not as uncomfortable as it looks. Put it this way, especially for a titanium a trimmed cap, but I would not post it. So this is the Asvine V200. I'm going to put black because sometimes that black coating It does make a difference in terms of the writing experience. This again is a, oh, this is a Bach. I forget that the Asvine V200 comes with a Bach, and it's a fine nib. Although I got to tell you, this nib writes like a medium. Very smooth. Wet. Very wet, actually. Very constant and consistent. Yeah. A good Bach nib. Okay, let's put it this way. That's the Asvine, but the Asvine nibs are just as good. I got to tell you, never have any problems with the Asvine nibs. This is the 456. It's got a 456. So this is the pen BBS 456. I just noticed, I'll be right back, because it's got a Noodler's. For some reason, it doesn't have its original nib. So we'll put back its original nib and then come back and test this pen. Okay, so we changed the nib. I apologize for that. I should have realized, but you know, when you wash and you don't wear the right glasses, you don't realize. I put back the pen BBS, and it's that those new medium nibs that come up with. I know that all my pen BBS pens eventually got either a special calligraphy nib or this nib. So I'm going with the standard nib for a standard price and not any specialty nib. So we'll start that all over again, if you will. So this is the pen BBS 456. Got a medium nib. Smooth. It's got some feedback. It's wet, but not very wet. Keeps up. I just find the writing experience not as nice as the others. Pen is a little on the thinnish side. It is comfortable. If you do post it, it posts comfortably, and frankly, probably better weighted post-it. Yeah, much better. Yeah, but the nib is not as nice as the others, I got to tell you, so far. Been some time I hadn't written with a pen BBS nib. Now we'll do one last. By the way, this ridiculous pen is probably the one that filled the most. So there you have it. Sometimes now that big knob is intrusive. I mean, I'm a little biased because I like this pen. I think it's a lot of fun. I know some people just hate it. But objectively speaking, the nib section is a little bit on the thin side, but you know, I have a tendency to hold it up a little bit higher. And so this is very smooth, by the way. The knob is, you know, it kind of just a bit too big, but I still like it. And this is the Majon V1, and this is a medium nib. Smooth. It's got a little bit of a feedback, but you know, it's kind of hit and miss sometimes, but it's very wet and it's most constant. Okay, so that's the Majon V1. Okay, let's turn the page. This is the Wing Sung 699. So, oof. This is a medium. Oh, I didn't clean the pen properly. Apologize there. My fingers are all wet. It's a gusher, folks. It's a real gusher. Very, very smooth. And it's very constant. So far, this is the best nib, I would say to you. The writing experience is similar to an 823. So that could, right off the bat, that can create some bias because you keep thinking it's an 823. But even posted, it's very comfortable. The pen is an excellent pen. If you can't afford an 823, this is the next best thing. So, so far, this is my 10 on 10, and maybe even 10 plus. I can tell you that so far, this is the best writing experience of all of them. Just weight, balance, and this nib. Just, it feels like you're writing with a gold nib. Really. And extremely, extremely smooth. Okay, let me just, got ink everywhere. I didn't dry that pen properly. Okay, now, this is the Tremol. I don't know what they call it, but it's a vacuum filler. I don't know if there's an actual name to this thing. Whoops. I don't know what that spilled, but okay, so this is Tremol. I think this is the worst nib of the whole gang. It's kind of fighting the paper. It's not scratchy, but it's very dry. Some skips and too much feedback, but it's kind of an uncomfortable feedback for some reason. Yeah, I guess, you know what, the nib needs a little bit of work. But on the other hand, it might be my bias because I don't. Is this extra fine? It's a Bach nib. There you have it. It's a Bach nib. That's why it's no good. Don't like Bach nibs. Had they put in the Chinese nib, I bet you would have been better. So I don't know if this is extra. This looks like a fine. I don't believe it's an extra fine, but I don't. You hear that? It's just the writing experience is not the greatest. It is comfortable in the hand. Finish on the section, but again, you know, if you hold it up a little higher, you're okay. Does it post? No, it doesn't. Okay, but the weight is good. The mechanism is good, and it's one of the mechanisms that kind of filled the most. So there you have it. The Tremol. That covers all of them, folks. We've done them all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to revisit this in my mind and give scores, and then maybe we will come back. Not maybe, we'll come back and I'll tell you how all these pens fared in my scoring. Okay, be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I've tabulated everything. You got to be careful with Excel. Sometimes you know, if you click the wrong buttons, you get all kinds of results. And I got some bizarre result originally, and I said, no, it can't be. And then I redid it, and I realized I'd made some mistakes in the clicking of my mouse. Essentially, here are actually, I'm going to take the TWSBI and put it aside in a second. Here are the top four, based on my tabulation. Now, you must know that I gave more importance to the nib quality, the price, and the overall writing experience. Then I gave importance to quality, build quality, and then the rest, design, posting, size, filling, and cleaning, kind of, equal importance. But price, nib, and writing experience were the top parameters, if you will. And when I tabulated, here are the winners. Number 4 is the V169, the Asvine. Number 3 is the Wing Sung, $6.99. Number 2 is this Asvine V200. And the winner comes out to be the V126. Now, I've got to mention that I think one of the main reasons why the V126 may beat out some of the others is because there is some price differential. The Wing Sung, some points were taken off because it is an attempt to mimic or copy A23. I feel sorry for this TWSBI VAC 700R because I think it is a very good pen, but I think the setback here is the price. I mean, this is going for, what is it, TWSBI? It's going for $90 Canadian, whereas all these are, half the price, if not less. So if you're going to give price some importance, the TWSBI unfortunately takes a back seat and probably comes even further down. If I would remove from the picture price, these pens would still all be in the mix, but the narwhal would come back in the mix, and the order would be as follows. V200 would come to the top. The TWSBI would come second, tied with narwhal. Then the 126. Then the Wing Sung. And then the 169. So you could see that these two are definitely, would come to the top had it not been for their pricing. So those are the comparisons. I don't know if that makes any sense. Now, let me just get back to you, and I just want to make some overall conclusions here. Okay, so I'm back for the conclusion. You can do an Excel sheet and you can kind of give it values and see what kind of results you get. I think it makes sense, but you could, some things are subjective, right? So this is not perfectly scientific, let's say, but it does give you some indication. But if I step back and I say to myself, forget about all these values, forget about everything, just in terms of use, in terms of which pen or pens would you say are the top 3? In my mind, regardless of the values that I enjoy the most, I've got to say that I've not been able to enjoy long enough the TWSBI and the narwhal. So it's a little unfair, but I can tell you that even with this short amount of time that I've used them, my top 2 are the Wing Sung and the Asvine 2000. This Asvine 2000 to me is just a fabulous pen. Okay, that's why I have 4 of them. And so is this Wing Sung. This Wing Sung is a workhorse, and the nib to me is exquisite. It writes like a gold nib to the point where I believe they sell this pen, the Wing Sung, with gold nibs. And I've really not been attracted by that offering just because, from what I understand, there's not much difference between that gold Wing Sung nib and the steel nib. I'm also a little biased on this Asvine because I can replace the nibs with some flex nibs, and maybe that's what's influencing me. But those are my top two, without any tabulation. Nonetheless, even with the tabulation, they come in the top four. So there you have it. I hope that was a lot of fun for you. So if you guys are shopping for any of these pens or vacuum fillers in general, hope this was useful. But more importantly, I hope this was fun, because that's what it's all about, folks. I know you guys are going to come back. You forgot this one, you forgot that one. Well, you should have done this, you should have done that. I got you. I did my best. But it does give you an indication how good Asvine really is. That's the bottom line. And the second conclusion is how good and budget, especially for the money, these Chinese pens are. And you could argue that TWSBI and Narwhal are essentially Chinese as well. So there you have it. And when you talk about low budget vacuum fillers, when I look at all this, you only have Chinese pens. At the end of the day, I mean, I think Narwhal and TWSBI are, Taiwan, but you could argue that's Chinese, and then the next vacuum fillers are your Gravitas, your Homo sapiens, your custom Pilot 823, all your Visconti vac fillers like the Opera Master. So essentially, that's where you're at. If I missed some, perhaps, but if I missed any budget vac fillers, please let me know, because I'll be the first one to buy one. I'm really enjoying vac fillers. I think they're easy to clean. I like the way you just dip in, press the button, and sucks up ink. I'm really enjoying those filling mechanisms. So please, if I missed any, let me know and I will order them immediately. I think they should form part of my collection. Thank you very much, folks. Grazie molto. Please subscribe. If you like this video, please let me know. Leave a thumbs up. And comments are always welcomed, as you know. Take care. All the best.